Hi, my name's James Lyons. I'm a paramedic with St John WA. I applied in 2012, started my studies in 2013 and started on road in 2014 after doing induction school, so that makes about 8 years now. Basically, I was previously doing oil and gas. I wasn't finding it particularly rewarding, and I wanted to challenge myself, do something different that I felt like I could give more to sort of the community. My housemate was a paramedic and my brother at the time, so I spoke to them about their thoughts on the role, the organisation. They gave me some advice on both the pros and cons. I decided to apply, and basically from there I've been a paramedic ever since, so it's been a good run so far. As a student ambulance officer, I didn't come from any sort of health or clinical background, so I did initially probably found it a little bit confronting. A lot of the concepts were different to what I was familiar with, but I had some really good mentors when I started. My first mentor was very supportive. Probably realised that I did look like a fish out of water for the first few weeks, but she really encouraged me, allowed me to develop slowly at my own pace. As I progressed through the rest of my ambulance officer program, I grew in confidence, my skill set obviously increased, and I felt by the time I'd come around to being made up to a paramedic that I was at least able to understand sort of a patient and what I had to do to help them. As a trainer, I've done a couple of different schools with St John. I've done the SAO induction, I've done the intermediate and the transition courses. I think the most rewarding aspect of it, particularly for the SAO program, was understanding that a lot of these students like myself had come from a non-clinical type of background. This means that based on my own experiences, I was able to relate to them and sort of try and break down some of the concepts that weren't as easy to understand if you didn't come from, say, a nursing or a physiotherapy type background. We also did a course in the height of the pandemic, which obviously had its own challenges. We were literally trying to get students through courses in groups of 5, maintaining all these new concepts such as social distancing, mask wearing, etc. So that was really challenging, but also rewarding, as all of the students managed to make it through the course as well. Obviously, everybody had the same sort of difficulties in changing on the fly, but that was an experience that I enjoyed. First regional posting was to Kalgoorlie. It was really different. We obviously work with volunteers out there, so it's a hybrid paramedic volunteer model. Obviously, volunteers out there have a vast range of experiences. Some of them have been doing their volunteering work with St John for many years, longer than I have. Some were student doctors, which I worked with, which was really great because they knew sometimes a lot more about the particular condition than I did, so it was great to learn from them. It obviously has its own challenges. You're very resource limited in terms of sometimes you are the only crew for the whole of the city. But I enjoyed it, and I found that it definitely improved my clinical judgment, my skill set, and allowed me to be a bit more focused in decision making, because at the end of the day, apart from a phone call, you are pretty much the only person there to rely on, and for the patient as well. So I think the biggest difference is in Metro, you can kind of assume that you've got somebody to help you and back you out. So no matter what sort of job you may be presenting to, whether it's in cardiac arrest or a lift or or a major incident, you know that there'll probably be a manager or a CSP or another crew within 10 to 15 minutes behind you. So that does give you a sense of ease. But at the same point, you don't have the challenges in regional of ramping, etc., which obviously has its own stresses on the service. So I think it's significantly different. You also work with a paramedic or an AO, so at least you do sometimes have someone you can bounce some ideas off when there's a bit more of a complicated presentation. So he started 2 or 3 years before I did. It's been interesting. We've never actually attended a job together in the whole time that we've been on road. He has been to one cardiac arrest that I went to as well as a CSP before I became a critical care paramedic, but other than that, we've never actually worked together. A lot of people within St John know us both, and we get differing opinions on whether we look the same. And although he's 2 years younger, I'm told that I'm often the younger looking brother, so I'll always take that. I think the things that stand out for me in terms of memories, in terms of like the role itself, is when you can make an actual difference in somebody's life. And it may not just be a cardiac arrest where somebody's brought back to life, which has happened, but it's rare, and obviously they're very important. But even the extent you might go to an elderly person at home, you help them off the ground, they've just had a minor fall, you've got them back into bed and you've made them comfortable. That can be really rewarding because you know that person has obviously had no other person to help them. It might be the middle of winter and you've managed to make a really big impact in their life. Minor for us, but it's big to them. I think that's probably the most rewarding aspect of the job. I think there's a couple of things that I would say. I think the most important thing is to make sure that the role of a paramedic is something that you're really understand what you want to do. A lot of our work involves sort of mental health support, community support of elderly, etc. So although the brochure type parts of the career, which is car crashes, major incidents, do happen, they are a small proportion. But I think where we find that we can do the most help is helping within the community. I mean, sometimes it may just be some person with depression that we have to speak to for half an hour to 2 hours, and that can make all the difference in the scheme of the rest of their life. So I think as long as you're aware that those aspects of the role exist and you'll do a lot of it and you want to help people in that way, then I think it's a really good avenue to explore. I think making sure that you have good mental health and supports outside of the role is really important. I think having a good, hobbies away, whether it be sport, whether it be doing things with friends outside of the organisation, is really good as well. So I think you just need to have a really good grounding in your home life, and then that'll help you, because we do see some obviously confronting things, and I think it's just how you manage that mental health aspect as well.